All right, now, folks, there's a college student, Christine Roussel. I hope I pronounced her name properly because I think she's going to be famous one day. She's certainly going to be famous after I refer to her, as I am now. Writing on a website called thecollegeconservative.com, and I would encourage you to look at it. She wrote about her experience working at Wal-Mart. I want you to hear some of this. Don't worry, callers, I'll get to you too. During the 2010 and 2011 summers, I was a cashier at Wal-Mart, number 1788 in Scarborough, Maine. I spent hours upon hours toiling away at a register, scanning, bagging, and dealing with questionable clientele. These were all expected parts of the job, and I was okay with it. What I didn't expect to be part of my job at Wal-Mart was to witness massive amounts of welfare fraud and abuse. And by the way, I know somebody else who worked at Wal-Mart. It's not Wal-Mart's fault. It's the fault of our welfare system. But anyway, and she told me a similar thing. She wrote, I understand that sometimes people are destitute. They need help, and they accept help from the state in order to feed their families. This is fine. It happens. I'm not against temporary aid helping those who truly need it. But what I saw at Wal-Mart was not temporary aid. I witnessed generations of families all relying on the state to buy food and other items. I literally witnessed small children asking their mothers if they could borrow their EBT cards. I once had a man show me his welfare card for an ID to buy alcohol. The man was from Massachusetts. Governor Michael Dukakis' signature was on his welfare card. Dukakis' last gubernatorial term ended in January of 1991. I was born in June of 1991. The man had been on welfare my entire life. That's not how welfare was intended, but sadly, it is what it has become. Other things witnessed while working as a cashier included people ignoring me on their iPhones while the state paid for their food. For those of you who keep score at home, an iPhone is at least $200 and requires a data package of at least $25 a month. If a person can spend $25 a month so they can watch YouTube 24/7, I don't see why they can't spend that money on food. Pretty sharp young lady, isn't she? People using TANF, that's EBT cash, money to buy such necessities, such as earrings, Kit Kat bars, beer, WWE figurines, and my personal favorite, a slip and slide. TANF money does not have restrictions like food stamps on what can be bought with it. Extravagant purchases made with food stamps, including but not limited to steaks, lobsters, and giant birthday cakes. A man who ran a hot dog stand on the pier in Portland, Maine, used to come through my line. He would always discuss his hot dog stand and encourage me to come visit him for lunch someday. What would he buy? Hot dogs, buns, mustard, ketchup, etc. How would he pay for it? With food stamps. Either that man really likes hot dogs or the state is paying for his business. That's not okay. The thing that disturbed me more than simple cases of fraud and abuse was the entitled nature of many of my customers. One time, a package of bell peppers did not ring up as food in the computer. After the woman swiped her EBT card, it showed a balance that equaled the cost of the peppers. The woman asked, what was the charge? And a quick glance at the register screen showed the peppers did not ring up as food. Food items had the letter F next to their description. The woman immediately began yelling at me, saying that it's food, you eat it. In other words, she didn't want to pay taxes. This wasn't the only time this happened. If a person's EBT balance was less than they thought it would be, or if their cards were declined, it was somehow my fault. I understand the situation is stressful, but a person should be knowledgeable about how much money is in their account prior to going grocery shopping. EBT totals, these are these food stamp cards, are printed on receipts, and every cell phone has a calculator function. There's no excuse, and there's no reason to yell at a cashier for it. In other words, entitled. The worst thing I ever saw at Wal-Mart Scarborough was two women and their children. These women each had multiple carts full of items. Each began loading them at the same time. This should have been a tip-off for their intelligence levels. The first woman, henceforth known as Welfare Queen Number 1, paid for about $400 worth of food with food stamps. The majority of her food was void of any nutritional value. She then pulled out an entire month's worth of WIC, Women, Infants, and Children Program checks. Now, I don't mind people paying with WIC. The woman had virtually none of the correct items. WIC gives each participating mother a book containing actual images of items for which a person can and cannot redeem the voucher. This woman literally failed at image comprehension. After redeeming 10-plus WIC checks, Welfare Queen number 1 had me adjust the prices of several items she was buying. Wal-Mart's policy is to just adjust the price of the item without question if it's within $1 or $2. She then pulled out a vacuum cleaner and informed me that the cost of the vacuum cleaner was $3.48 because that's what the label says. The vacuum cleaner was next to a stack of crates. They were $3.48. Somehow, every other customer was able to discern that the vacuum cleaner was not $3.48, but Welfare Queen number 1 and her friend, Welfare Queen number 2, were somehow fooled. Welfare Queen number 2 informed me that she used to work for Wal-Mart, and the laws of Wal-Mart legally said that I would have to sell her the vacuum cleaner for $3.48. After contacting my manager, who went off to find the proper vacuum price, Welfare Queen number 1 remarked that it must be tough to stand on a mat all day and be a cashier. I looked at her, smiled, shrugged, and said, well, it's a job. She was speechless. After they finally admitted defeat, not Welfare Queen number 2 realizing she didn't have enough money to buy all the food she had picked out, resulting in the waste of about $200 worth of products, the two women left about an hour and a half after they arrived at my register. The next man in line said that the two women reminded him of buying steel drums and cement. I said I was reminded why I vote Republican. Maine has a problem with welfare spending, and she goes on. Oh, gee, am I not allowed to use or repeat the phrase Welfare Queen number 1 and Welfare Queen number 2? Does that have racial implications? It shouldn't. No idea what the race of these people are or is. And it doesn't matter. They're abusing the system. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little secret. Multiply these two welfare queens by millions. And not just on food stamps and unemployment, but Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all the rest of the massive Leviathan. The federal government has so much money and hands out so much money to undeserving people who think it's a right, and we even call it an entitlement. And they even have judicially created rights to these benefits. This is one of the reasons our country's going to hell. And isn't it interesting that the left is always attacking the producers, the people who pay the bills for complete strangers, who can be on welfare or some other entitlement program for generations, never get a thanks, and always told that we, the producers, the taxpayers, are never paying enough. There's something wrong with us, the successful people. So they torment us. They seek to punish us. They seek to take more of our hard-earned income to pay for this. And a lot like this. When you get into the housing market, you see the same kind of cheating going on with mortgages, where people are sitting in their houses and playing the system for years at a time, not paying a mortgage, not for a single month. And then they think the system is the problem. Well, the system is the problem because those people should be renting an apartment. They shouldn't be living in a house. And I can go on and on. And on and on. When you have a $3.7 trillion budget, when you have a governmental system that is set up not to be efficient and accountable, but to take as much as it can from the productive sector and give it to unproductive people, Yes, there's massive waste and fraud. And we, the productive people, whether we be farmers or coal miners or truckers, whether we be small businessmen or big businessmen, whether we run a restaurant or a dry cleaner, whether you're a mechanic or a plumber or electrician, whatever you are, driving a cab, driving a bus, we're paying for the whole ball of crap. Yes, we are. And they tell us we're not paying enough. And they're telling us they can never cut budgets. And they're telling us that if anybody leaves any of these entitlement or welfare programs, that they won't be able to fend for themselves because somehow every single one of them is incapable of personal survival. I don't buy any of it. Neither should you. I don't buy any of it. Neither should you.